Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. I hope you're doing well. I am sorry for my tardiness here this morning or afternoon, wherever you're coming in from. But yeah, definitely a couple of crazy things happened this morning work-wise, just last minute and had to happen. Meetings, couldn't push it. And so I appreciate your patience as I get going here about 15 minutes late. As you guys funnel in there, make sure you drop a comment to say hello and I want to see who's watching. And do me a favor, drop a like so more people know we are actually live right now. I don't know if you guys have this stuff wherever you're from, but I think it's called peace tea. It's like in Canada, we iced tea is like a pretty common thing. I know in America you guys have sweet tea, and this is like this is sweet tea because it's iced, but it's also heavily sweetened, and it's like this is like a peach flavor. It's really lovely, and it's like got that caffeine punch to get me going. How we doing? Audio's good. Turn it up just a bit, and we're recording. We're streaming. Good. And then the Junk Rehab. Good to see you, pal. Appreciate you popping by. Artie Stonefish, there he is. Good to see you. WYT. Love it. Luke, how you doing, pal? Luke, you've been here since like, I mean, 2 and a half, 2 years, I think, right? You've been here for a while. Good for you, man. Still grinding away, still enjoying the game. Stacking the rewards, making it happen. Appreciate you guys popping by today. Lots of things to check in on. I did a video this morning talking about how well the burn is going. I'd love to see the updates on that, but I bet we must be over 500 million, like including DECB at this point, aren't we? Or YouTube Studio. Yeah, I did this one, massive success, and man, it has been. This is, if you haven't watched the video yet, the detailed breakdown of like what I've seen so far as of yesterday after 24 hours of the DEC burn, the Great Burning, talking about like the short-term, medium-term, long-term implications and how it's, you know, beneficial for everybody from the biggest to the smallest in the game. I really believe that. I think this event was planned well in so many ways. Zyriel, interestingly, probably the opposite conversation. This one isn't working out the way they wanted, nor is it, you know, they aren't selling, they aren't moving. I saw yesterday, let's have a peek now. Yesterday I saw Zyriel, and there was a 4,700 units that had been sold. And as we get closer to the timeline, we're now just hours away, this number isn't really moving, which tells me maybe 60, 50, 30, 40, 50 units have sold in the last 24 hours in this thing. And yet the sale is about to end, meaning there will never be more Zyriels ever. And I think if you contextually compare where Zyriel is unit on a BCX availability wise, this is going to be a rare promo card. This is a rare promo card. And I don't know that the price is going to go much lower than this. I could see it going a little lower, but because of the scarcity, I think this ends up being a relatively expensive card. Just because even if we don't love it, and clearly people aren't crazy about it, otherwise it would have sold even faster. But the price point is significant, especially as we look at some of the other legendary cards. And you, like the other day, yesterday on Twitter, I saw a friend of mine bought, what's it called? It's a magic monster, legendary water magic monster. No, it's neutral. Yeah. A friend of mine just bought a Spirit Miner. Look at this card, Spirit Miner. Totally different card than Zyriel, but I'm saying like exceptional card. Exceptional dodge, swiftness, blind. This combination, swiftness with blind, makes you so evasive because it makes the blind applies a 15% reduction to your opponent's ability to strike you, and the swiftness is another 10%. So that this guy alone on your team is adding 25% to your evasiveness for every one of your monsters. And so it's such an amazing monster. And you're talking 12 bucks, 13 bucks, call it $14 a unit for this exceptional card. And then you back to Zyriel and you're like, okay, yeah, it's a good card. I really do believe Zyriel's a strong card. But the Spirit Miner is neutral and Zyriel is not neutral. Yes, Zyriel has two splinters to work with, but still neutral or dragon would be even more sort of applicable and more broadly playable, right? So Zyriel's cool. The artwork's great. The card is, it seems to me to be strong. I haven't really played with it. But it seems like it's a good card. But at the same time, when we talk about 60 bucks, because that's what it is, buy now, 80,000 DEC, you know, right there, that's about 65 bucks, I'm going to guess. Maybe 70 bucks. Yeah, 65 bucks. But then I know you can do discounts with vouchers, but then still, I think you're only bringing down the cost. You know, you're bringing down the cost probably into that $40 range. And that's great. But still, again, what does that get you? And I give you one example there with the Spirit Miner. But I mean, there's a million cards in here. Just if all we did was look at legendaries, if all we did was, and you know, let's even be fair and let's just look at life and death. You know, from just legendaries and just life and just death, maybe even let's just look at archery to really narrow it down. Regular. Raw is 1/6 the price. This is an exceptional card. Raw with the double strike, with the giant killer, the rust. This is a really, really good card. I'm really surprised this one's only $6.50, especially since we've only released 1 million packs from the Riftwatcher set. And, you know, the 2 million more to go, which should imply that the cost on some of these cards are going to go down even more when we get more of those packs opened, you would think. At least that's what I'm thinking. Lyra the Dark. The swiftness makes this card very like a support card, in my opinion. Like if you can add 10% evasiveness through one ability from one monster, that's really interesting to me. And so Lyra the Dark's interesting to me. And I, again, just like, is it a different card? Yes, it's a different card. I'm saying though, if you had 40 bucks to spend on one BCX of one card, why not come in here and buy a max level right there? $14, you get a Lyra the Dark max level and have 20 bucks left over. I mean, are they different? Yes, they're totally different. But again, if you don't have every card in this game, the conversation isn't just, the conversation is not, hey, should I buy Zyriel or not? The conversation is more like, how would Zyriel move the needle with respect to my ability to play this game better and extract more reward for my time and attention? This is a complex conversation, not a simple yes or no with Zyriel. It's actually like, for the cost associated with that, what could I do alternatively that might move the needle in a more significant way? And that's, out of that conversation, you start to get going down the path that I'm describing here, where it's like, yeah, Zyriel would be really interesting. Weapons Trainer is great. Divine Shield makes it, I think, even more resilient. And then with the Life Leech, this thing, I can picture this getting pretty beefy because it's got that Life Leech and it's going to be dropping serious bombs. So, you know, it probably ends up being a number of like 10, 12, 14 hit points before it makes it to the front. And anytime you can get either Scavenge or Life Leech to work for you, yes, that's helpful. It's powerful. It ends up being like another tank once it's in the first position. It's no longer firing from that first position, but that's okay sometimes because it gives your other support monsters or your backlines, your 5th or 6th position monsters longer to live and more time to kill. And so I like this card, but again, not for this price point. I mean, I'd buy it in like $20 or $15 range, I think, is where I'm at. But for $420 to get a max copy of this card, there's just zero probability of me doing that. And so far in this conversation, all I've spoken to is the issue of cost versus other cards. You know, what would Zyriel be from a cost to benefit analysis is what I'm kind of saying. And I'm like, you know, even from just the archery perspective and just from the life and death, you know, these are, I'd rather have raw. I'd rather have live of the dark. But I mean, you can get into a broader conversation. You can say, well, what about neutrals? And what about dragons? Because those are even more applicable to more battles than just a life or a death archery monster. And then also, this is just still a conversation about whether or not you should buy in one card or another. What about the fact that you only have X amount of dollars to put into a game like Splinterlands, and it doesn't always have to look like a card investment? What about more SPS so you can more rewards once we implement the SPS reward staking requirements? Or what about some DEC because you think it's going to return to peg, maybe because of all the burning that we're doing? Or maybe you need more DEC for your land and you need to prepare for that. It's never, Zyriel I think is cool, and the artwork is so awesome. I love that artwork, but it's this broader conversation, isn't it? And it always is with this game. And that's why the economy of Splinterlands is a game within the game of Splinterlands, because there's actually this nuanced and thoughtful and fun and entertaining conversation that comes out of, I only have a finite number of resources and I want to extract the most possible reward for my time and attention within the context of that limited resource. And that is a game, because finance management, economic management is a part of so many awesome games that I personally love. Whether you even think about games like Monopoly or Axis and Allies or something like StarCraft, or, you know, there's a certain economy to your game, and those are tabletop games, and those are also, you know, video games, and there's a million others. But the economy, understanding the economy is going to position you into more and more likelihood of victory and success in those contexts, and absolutely in Splinterlands. And here within Splinterlands, it's not just win or lose. It's gain financial resources out of your efforts or not. Because the more wins you get, the more SPS you get, the more SPS you get, maybe the more long-term appreciation you have. So the context of understanding the economy as part of the game and its own game is actually really, really clutch and key. And so then in the context of Zyriel, that's part of why it has sold as few units as it has. It's amazing artwork. It's a strong card, but there's so many cards that you would want to have and our community wants to have that then you can't have it all. So why spend $40 per BCX on something that's awesome, well, let's set aside for a moment that you might not agree it's awesome, but let's say even if you thought it was awesome, that's a lot of money, and I could buy a lot of other amazing cards that would maybe help me more directly in what I'm doing, because maybe life and death are not my splinters I even play. And then more than that, aside from the cards, there's the other things like DEC, SPS, land, you know, validator nodes, TD packs, Splinter Forge assets, you know, Golem over. Like there's at least 20 other things I'm deeply interested in, and I can't afford it all. And so for me, Zyriel just sits in the back, and maybe one day it'd be something I would add to my resource. But right now, I'm just simply not, I can't afford 80,000 DEC. I just burnt 8,000 on 800,000 in the event. Did anybody in the chat buy yourself a Zyriel? Luke, I think you're saying you've been around. This is a response to my question about you being around for a couple of years. Good for you, Luke. Thanks for following, bud. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for hanging out. Gregory, good to see you, bud. Alex Bernard, I saw you hanging out on Aftersound stream earlier today, Alex. So you guys have like the craziest appetite for, you know, Splinterlands related content, and I appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out with me, for spending some of your time with me. Aftersound's amazing. I love that guy. I really do hope we get to hook up and play some Web 2 gaming. Richard, hi Dwayne, you've always been very positive on card prices long term. Are you still positive? I am. I absolutely am. And it's almost like a separate, there's a whole video in that conversation. I'll do my best right now to just summarize very briefly why I'm bullish about that. And this is like something I feel I've said 1,000 times, but it's something I think I'm going to need to say 1,000 more, because I really think this is part of why Splinterlands is actually really interesting. Why it's part of why I think this game's revolutionary, part of why I'm so excited about Splinterlands, because to your question, there's a conversation around bullishness for the assets. Even cards like Zyriel, as we said earlier, Zyriel, there's only 4,500 of them that's ever been printed. Out of 15,000 was the projected original total. You might say, though, well, that's indicative of being a poor performing card. Okay, I think we spent time talking about why it probably sold that many units and why there's other reasons to buy other things, and I'm more excited to spend that money elsewhere. But set all that aside for now and just talk about the value and the price appreciation in the future within the context of your comment. You know, we talk about if there was going to be 15,000 units of this, and if it was priced at $60 per, about $60 per, you know, you say to yourself, man, that is no longer, that's quite a common card. And again, like I'll show you Live in the Dark, 41,000 copies. This is a Chaos Legion legendary. Let's see some of the promos. The promo legendaries, like Chain Golem, 4,600 copies. So Chain Golem, same number of copies. Dr. Blight, 20,000. Pegasus, 4,000. Waka, 5,000. Red Dragon, 3,000. Lux, 10,000. So with Zyriel in that 5,000 range, you're in some rare, you're in a rare space. You're quite a rare card. And these are totally different cards, but I'm saying the scarcity got better because fewer sold. And so scarcity is the key for the answering your question. Why would I be bullish, or why am I still bullish about the future price appreciation? Yes, because scarcity. And when I look at cards like Zyriel, I think it's unfortunate for the team that they didn't all sell. But from a perspective of a collector, it's fortunate, because if you did buy one of the Zyriels that sold, you have fewer competitors who are holding it. And to answer your question very directly, I'm bullish about the card price appreciation for Splinterlands in the future, because I think the game is fun. And two, I think it has a future. And then within the broader context, why would the cards appreciate? Well, first of all, you have to have those two things, that the game's fun and has a future. And then from there you go, okay, are the cards limited in number? And they are. And for some of them, they're more scarce than others. And the scarcity, if the game is fun and has a future, and if the card continues to have special and desirable utility within the game, then the card necessarily appreciates, because there's only X number of copies, 4,600, 4,500 Zyriels, and they're going to be consolidated and consolidated and consolidated as people burn them together to make maximum level copies. So 4,600 divided by 11, you know, it's never going to be like this, because not every one of them is going to be consolidated, but that would be 400 copies of this card out of 50,000 daily active accounts. That's not enough. Even if you say they're all going to be burned, you know, 40, call it 5,000, 5,000 copies, and divided by 6, because that's the level 3. That's 800 copies. Again, under 50,000 accounts, or 5,000 divided by 3, you know, yeah, 1,600 accounts out of 50,000 daily active accounts right now in a bear market. And so, again, if the game's fun and if it has a future, and if the cards are limited in number, and if the cards have a utility within the game that is desirable, that helps you actually win, then that is the foundation for explaining why the scarcity is going to drive card prices higher. Because there will be a growing desire and sought, the cards will be sought after to a growing degree as the player base grows. Because again, the game, we believe, if we agree that the game's fun and has a future, there'll be new players chasing after the same assets. And that's how I get to a place of firm bullishness around the price appreciation. Yeah, that's something I feel very confident about. Oof, okay, I got 7.5 hours to do my guild brawl. So we'll have to spend a few minutes here, and I'll have to rent my least I have to rent a few alpha and betas to get ready for this guy here. Maybe we'll fight the battles too while we're hanging out. If the card prices do not recover, will Splinterlands be able to sell packs for $5? This is a good question. Another good question from Richard. Thank you. I almost want to take it like two different questions. If the card prices do not recover, I want to just think through practically how it would be possible for the cards not to recover. So, because there's inherent in your question is the suggestion that it would be theoretically possible for them not to recover. So let's address that as its own question, and then we'll get into whether or not they could sell the packs within that context. So how would the price of these cards, I'm trying to think through like practically how it would be conceivable that card prices would just stagnate, maybe never exceed their current price points. There are ways that happen. The short answer is a complete failure of the foundation, which I just laid out, that either the game is not fun, and maybe I'm wrong about that assertion. Me saying I've said it's fun, I enjoy it now, I think a lot of people do. I think more in the future will. I could be wrong about the assertion that this game is fun. That's one avenue by which cards will never appreciate again. Or you might say the game's fun today, but they're actually breaking it in 1 or 2 or 3 different respects as they implement new, changes to the game. Maybe something about land or how items and spells work is like a real game changer in a negative way, busting some element of the economy or maybe ruining the game in some real practical sense. Now, if that's true, if that ends up being true, first of all, that's hard to predict. And I'm kind of, anyone who believes in Splinterlands is believing in the team's ability to navigate those hurdles wisely. And you might say that's like another angle, that's another vector of attack or failure possibility for it. You might say the team is in over their head and they can't navigate these things, these concerns, and they can't practically execute what you and other people who are bullish on Splinterlands are expecting from it, right? Somebody might articulate that, and I would have to say, well, I've just seen over years they've been quite good at executing on what they said they were going to do, and sometimes it's been delayed, but I've been quite pleased with what I've seen them produce. And at some point, you and I, or me and whoever I was talking to, might end up disagreeing on that. But you got to wrestle with those questions first. Because if it's fun now is one question. If it could be, if you might say no, but if you say yes, it's fun now, you might then debate whether or not it could fail in the future. Somehow it would stop being fun. If you see risk of that, you got to debate that. You got to challenge that. You got to really wrestle with that until you get to a firm confidence that it will remain fun. Because these are like stepping stones in the process of analyzing the future likelihood of the thriving for Splinterlands. So is it fun today? Do you anticipate it failing to be fun tomorrow? And then there's also the future conversation. Do we like where the team is developing it, how they're pointing toward the future? Do we believe that they can execute on those things? If you think there's a breaking point in my argument on one of those topics, then you might conclude the cards will never appreciate. But again, if you agree with me on the context of it being fun today, you see it as the plans that they're setting out as being fun for tomorrow, and you think they're actually attainable goals, and you see them executing, and you trust the team in their execution and planning of those goals, then it seems like you would agree it's fun and it has a future. And from that perspective, the scarcity of the cards is like, it just is what it is. There's almost no argument for conversation or room for conversation around whether they will appreciate if the game keeps being fun and has a future. If it is fun and if it has a future, they will appreciate because of increased player base and reduction of supply. And that's a supply demand conversation, which drives prices higher. So, but again, tear apart that argument if you can, because that's the first part of what you're getting at. You're asking like, could they sell packs for $5 in the future if the cards don't increase in price? And you got to first tackle how it would be possible for the cards never to appreciate. And that, what I just articulated to you, is the path. So you got to wrestle with those things for yourself and come to your own conclusion. I have a great deal of confidence based on everything I already explained as to why they will appreciate, because I have confidence in the team and where we're at and where we're aiming. And I believe that scarcity is adequate. Even with cards like Chaos Legion, I believe the scarcity is adequate. Even with reward cards, which were the old ones, which were printed in such a massive way, I think we have justification for believing in the relative scarcity of those. Now, they are far more common than some of the other cards, but they are still scarce enough within the context of what land should do, and with the the projected player growth that I would expect, that we get to a place where they are, truly inadequately scarce. Like I just said with Zyriel, if we burn them into essentially silver level cards, we're talking 13 or 1400 or however many I said a moment ago. That's 1,500 copies across, call it 2,000 copies to split them amongst 50,000 accounts. That's our current existing population of player base. But, a game like this could absolutely blow up and have, we did in the past bull market had 400,000 or 500,000 daily active accounts. And I know many of those are bots. Maybe most of those were bots. I don't know how many, but regardless, it's conceivable that we get into a place one day where there's 1 million daily active users, 2 million, 5 million. It's conceivable, especially I think if blockchain goes where I think it will, and if blockchain based NFT gaming grows into what I think it could. And then again, you could wrestle with that too. You could challenge me and push against that. And you should think, how realistic is that? 1 million, 2 million, 5 million players in something like Splinterlands. I think Hearthstone has 5 million players. I think games like WoW. So that's rarefied air. But our game is special in that it offers an opportunity for financial gain to the players who play it. And when the stigma of blockchain goes away, which I think time will remove, then we start to get into a place where people are truly trusting the opportunity here, not thinking of it as, oh, that's just a trick and I'm going to get scammed once I get involved. That's going to be some sort of rug pull. At some point, confidence grows and grows and grows to a place where it's this tipping point, and then it exponentially hockey puck or hockey stick parabolic move upward with regards to activity and player base. And that's where you'll see parabolic changes in price points. And so I think that's a realistic hypothetical kind of scenario. And even if I'm wrong in terms of the magnitude of those predictions, if it ended up being, 10x where we're at now, that would be massive, massive. And then, so in that context, with that story and that background, you then have to kind of say, well, would it be possible for them to sell $5 packs? If cards do not recover, then Splinterlands probably is failing. So to directly answer your question, if the prices do not recover, then Splinterlands will not be able to sell packs for $5. Not in a meaningful sense. As we've seen with Rift Watchers, as we saw with Chaos Legion, we had to do certain deals to make those units move. I think if we launch Rebellion in the context of the bear market, we probably don't see $5 per pack being, truly sold out. But there's different techniques we already know about and we can implement to make that move. So for instance, we burnt X amount of Chaos Legion packs toward the end. We then set aside some for Nifty Arcade to be utilized, and those cards will likely be burned when we're done with that sort of process and that partnership. We could do something with Rebellion where it's out for 6 months, and at the 6th month and plus 1 day, the remaining packs that haven't been sold start being burned, and then every day more get burned and more get burned until at 9 months there's no more Rebellion. And so there are plans like that have been thought and can be implemented to see that the sale of the Rebellion or mini sets can be done wisely. Even with Zyriel, we're already seeing that, where like if they don't sell, they're not being printed. If they don't get printed, they're done. And so the short answer is no, you're not going to sell a ton of packs. You're not going to sell it. Like if we release 15 million Rebellion packs in this bear market, like even in the next few months, I don't see them selling if the bear market is still lingering. But if the card prices are growing, if the SPS and what land is doing starts spiking SPS price, if the flywheel actually starts working, then you start to see a context of where the repair or the rewards paid for play in Splinterlands, both from rank or tournament battles, end up getting to a place where it's desirable for new players to rush in, which means they need new cards. But then again, land is eating up the supply, and so the card prices are being spiking for two different reasons. One, because lack of supply because of what land has done, but two, because of increased demand because of what SPS prices might be doing to attract new players. And that sort of scenario could translate to like, so I'm really bullish in the medium to long term that cards go up, and therefore I'm really bullish that we move a substantial amount of packs in the future. But all of what I've said is to try and give you the context of thinking through for yourself whether you believe that's true. What do you truly believe that we have, that there's a likelihood of us landing in a place like that I'm describing? Thanks for the question, Richard. Alex, I'd like to play with my land someday. Yeah, me too. Soon enough. Battleship, Connect 4. Let's do it. Yeah, man. Well, you know what we need to do? We could like set up, there's things you could do online to set up community-based games like this, games nights. I don't know exactly how to do that, Alex, but it would be neat if we could do like a live stream and there would be a way that we, like I don't know, 10 or 20 people who are here. I don't know who's here right now. 23 concurrent viewers. Guys, drop the like. We got 11 likes. Please, thumbs up. It'll pass the message along to others so they see what we're talking about and come on over. But imagine 23 of us, like right now, we could be playing a game of Risk or 5 games of Risk, and we have a tournament while we're hanging out. That would be neat. Or Monopoly or Settlers of Catan. I love Settlers of Catan. Magic the Gathering even. I actually have no idea how to play Magic the Gathering. Never played it before in my life. But you know, these sorts of things could happen, I assume, remotely through the internet connection, and we could be hanging out and talking, and I could be addressing conversations while, you know, wrestling through that. That'd be rad. Eli, good to see you. What's up, fam? Hope everyone's well. Richard, no, I have Dragon Legendary Soulbound, which is similar to Zyriel. Dragon Legendary Soulbound. Is there a drag? Let me see this. Reward, Dragon. You must mean Burrick Snake Eye, because that's got the weapons trainer. Yeah, it is very similar in many respects, isn't it? You got the weapons trainer. You've got, you know, it doesn't have the life leech, but it has way more resiliency. So you almost don't need the life leech. I think it's more mana to play, if I recall what Zyriel is. But yeah, I see your, yeah, this is a strong card. I need 250,000 DEC for my land. Alex, I need like 1.2 million for mine. I honestly don't have it, and I don't know how I'm going to get it. So I feel as though I'm just not going to be launching my land as optimally as I would want. So I hear you. I feel your pain. I bet you 20 DC. I can beat you, Dwayne. I bet you could, Alex. You said in that last video with the after sounds, how are you? Like, I beat you today, Alex. Go ahead and send me a challenge. I'll throw down. I want a Lux for a second. Yeah, the Lux price has really dipped. If it was down in that 600 range, see, that's back to our earlier conversation with Zyriel. There's so many amazing assets in this game, and I definitely want a Lux. I recently sold my Lux for 1,100 bucks ish, 1150 ish, something like, I forget what the number was, something like that. And yeah, I saw her price dipping. Where are we at now? Look at this. Right there, 844. I mean, that's juicy, dude. This is a strong summoner, a very strong summoner. And the ubiquitous nature of its application, meaning like you can use it all the time, is very desirable. And there are 10,000 copies. That's quite a few. I can't be in a rush about these things. That's the thing. I'm learning patience with Splinterlands. Like, I've gotten more and more patient as the time goes on. And I encourage you guys to do that too. Like, you might want something today. Recognize that, you know, you don't need it today. So just be patient as you build what you're doing. Sure enough, he got a max Zyriel. Probably should have bought me a max Kralis. Kralis is awesome. Thinking long term, it would be worth having though. Yeah, Zyriel I think is a strong card, and I do think it's a good card, and I want one. But yeah, Kralis, if you could compare the two price wise, I would say Kralis would be more interesting to me because Kralis fits in that tank position. For $200, you can buy an Alpha Max card. Yeah, sometimes you can. The other day, I noticed Alpha prices have really dipped. I've been tracking my own price points. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, Time N Attention. And I can show you my recent tweets. And I've been once a week-ish, I'm tracking how much my cards are being valued at. So on May 29th, so 2 days ago, I checked out my price points. And look, my alphas are 23.51 as of May 29. And as you can see on May 18th, which is the time before, 11 days prior, my alphas were at 32.18. So that's like a 30% discount or something, 30% discount in 11 days. So alphas right now, let's check today. Let's check right now. But I'm saying, like, alphas do seem to be dipping. So we go over here. We go back into, you got to set the filters correctly. You want to do owned. So I've got 25.73. So it looks like my alphas have ticked up a little bit in that price point. But I'm going to say, if you're interested in acquiring some alphas, there's probably a moment right now where I think you could probably find some deals. So good on you for looking, Alex. Dog Pound, if you buy 25 Zyriel, max out with 11 of them, leave 13 regular foil and 1 gold foil, $200 for a gold foil, plus $13 times 30 for your regular foils. Your actual cost in the end is pretty good when you get down, when you get $590 selling up for the extras. So you'd be spending something like, I think you'd be spending something like 800. I think you'd be spending $1,000 US, and you'd be essentially getting a max copy for 400. I think is the, I'm doing very rough numbers in my head using the voucher pricing and all that. It'd be something like $1,000 cost to buy 25 Zyriels using the vouchers, using the DEC, and it might be slightly lower if you had fresh money to come in and buy fresh DEC, because you're going to be below peg on that. Jim, good to see you, buddy. If you want to come hang out, you can. Just drop a comment in chat, and I'll add you in. Morning, Dwayne. Also, Jim. Good to see you, Dace. Blaze, let me tell you all the future. All these salty little beaches will capitulate. Quality players and investors will come in and buy cheap cars. Then the salty beaches will buy back higher. This is true, and I hope you guys hear this for wisdom and not like there's wisdom in what he's saying. There's so much wisdom in what he's saying. It happens every single time with every single bull market, and I'm talking bullion, like gold and silver. You talk about real estate, you talk about the equities markets, you talk about cryptocurrency. People who don't truly believe in what they're holding in the first place chase after green candles and then sell into red candles and then chase after green candles, and that's a washing machine that'll cycle you broke. You'll tumble dry until you're broke. I mean, because you come in hot when it's high and you freak out when it drops low. And then you buy back because it's green, and I gotta chase these green candles, and then you get just absolutely eaten alive by the markets. And that's why it's famous quote, famous quote: markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. The idea being, you think you can plan these things, and so you come in thinking, well, it's only going to be 6 months till the next bull market, so I'm going to acquire my cards now. Maybe in Splinterlands context, that might be your projection. But if you don't come at that conversation from a place of belief within Splinterlands and a willingness to ride this thing to zero, that's the confidence that one has to have to walk in Blaze's shoes, where he's like, no, man, you can't shake me. Like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to acquire. I'm going to stack the bags. I'm going to fill my bags as often as I can until this train leaves the station. And I'll be on it when it goes. And then I'll be positioned because he's willing to be patient through it, and he knows what he's doing, and he's willing to hold it. So there's this confidence and this foundational belief. But people who chase green candles don't really believe in the thing that they're putting money toward. They're just throwing money at something they think they're gambling. They're throwing money at something they believe will have a short-term turnaround. And with Splinterlands, and on this channel, I mean, I think every one of you will have heard me say, this is not a days, weeks, months. This is a long-term time horizon thing, where if you enjoy the game for what it is, the fun of the entertainment opportunity, a fun and rewarding component, you think it's fun and it has a future, then you're going to come in this from a position where you're just going to accumulate trivial rewards, recognizing that one day across a long time horizon, those might appreciate in a meaningful way. In fact, I think they probably will. But again, patience, patience, patience. And so Blaze has that. And he's right. Not everybody does. And so they'll do the chase the green, sell the red, chase the green, sell the red. And that's how you lose big. Crypto's Ardenbex. Good to see you guys. It's a rare time that I get to catch the stream. And shout out to Crypto's Ardenbex, guys. Check out their channel. And I saw the comment, guys, and I hope you saw the video, and I hope you felt the tone of my willingness to hear you guys with respect to just my recent comments on sale of assets within Splinterlands, and really trying to communicate the power of what our game allows, the ability to sell. If somebody, I really hope that was received from the perspective that I was trying to deliver it, which is absolutely like, I want us to be confident. I want us to be like, I want our community to walk in a degree of confidence. Like, we don't want people here that are just going to be, how do I say that? If you don't want to be here, we want you to find what you want. Like, that's what I feel. It's like, I work at a church, and what I say to people sometimes, like, they come for a few weeks and then they go, hey Dwayne, like, I'm not going to come anymore, we're going to go to this other church. And I can tell there's a tone of, oh, I'm going to disappoint Dwayne's going to be mad at me. And I always say to them, or they'll come to my community group, which is like a once a week, we meet and we unpack some of these biblical things, and we just get to know each other. And they come once or twice and they go, Dwayne, we can't make it anymore, we're going to go find another community group. And there's a sense of they're worried they're going to disappoint me. And I always say, you know what? That's awesome. I just want you to find some place that you love. And within Splinterlands, when somebody is a little concerned or reluctant or nervous, I want them to truly understand the power of this. And I want them to see the opportunity that they have in front of them, which should be in itself a sales pitch. It's like, hey, yeah, you could leave if you want, but recognize that you can leave is like almost why you shouldn't leave. And that's kind of my soft sell to these people. So I see what you're saying, and there is a degree, I'm not very empathetic, and that's in real life, that's one of my own self critiques. Like, I wish I were more empathetic and sympathetic, and like sometimes patient. I feel those are barriers for me personally, and I try to work on those. But I say that in the context of just thank you for leaving that comment. And I hope you and anybody who hears this knows that I don't want people to leave Splinterlands. So if I tell them they can, or they, maybe they should, it's only from a place of, I want you to truly believe in what you have. And I actually think it's a sales pitch to recognize that Splinterlands is offering you something where you could. So thank you for that comment, guys. And I just hope that, yeah, thank you. The team, Richard, the team are focused on DEC and SPS price appreciation, not card appreciation at the moment, which could lead to a low card price when a Rebellion comes out. Packs are $5 would look high. Yeah, that's probably true, but I think I agree with everything you're saying, except for I see you drawing a disconnect, or sorry, you're not connecting parts that I would connect. For instance, you say the team is focused on a DEC and SPS price appreciation, and then not card appreciation. I would grab those two and I'd put them together, and I would say to you quickly, this is why. If DEC returns to peg, and I don't just mean touches peg, but actually in a strong way gets back to peg, what would that do to SPS? Well, first of all, DEC making it to peg means that there's a lack of DEC, and there's an ongoing demand for DEC. That's what would drive DEC to peg. That's the secret sauce to how DEC gets to and stays at peg. There needs to be a lack of DEC available and an ongoing demand for it. So if the team gets us there to that place, what happens? Okay, people start burning SPS because they need DEC for things like guild building upgrades, or for energy purchase for your daily battle, or for card rentals, or for card purchases. So SPS starts getting burnt in order to access DEC. And then SPS starts becoming more scarce. And then out of that scarcity, SPS starts going up in price. And that recipe is not disconnected from cards, because what would that mean? That means SPS is going up in US dollar value, and that means the rewards being paid for your rank play or your tournament participation or your guild brawl participation are more and more and more. In this game here, I got paid probably 5. Let's see. This is a win that I had earlier. I'm just going to skip it because I want to prove a point. I want to establish a point here. Look at this. I got 9.8 SPS out of that win. 9.8. So that's like a 20-cent win based on a 2-cent SPS. But what if SPS was 10 cents? That's now a dollar for a win. And so that's how restoring the DEC peg could translate to an SPS price appreciation, which would then drive what? More eyes and participation on the game. Because, wow, I can get $1 per win. And then what does that do? That drives card acquisition. So that's how I draw a line between your two concerns. I'm sure as a participant in this game, you want the economy, the DEC and the SPS to go up, and you also want the cards to go up. But I see a direct connection between those two. So, but you're right though. If there isn't a return to peg on DEC, and if SPS stays low, then cards probably do languish, because the rewards available are not very consequential to many people, and therefore they don't attract new people aren't excited because there's no bells and whistles, there's no excitement around, wow, I got 20 cents out of that win. Most people are going to say, oh, okay, whatever, who cares? So you're right about what would happen if the economy stays reduced or subdued. But I see a reason why economic growth and the tokenomic growth is going to translate to card appreciation. Luke, I totally agree with that. The progress in the past year plus, this game has gone a long way, and I've had to change up my strat every few months. For sure, it's been a roller coaster and of a ride to adapt to the circumstances. Definitely, Luke. There's been so much going on, and so much to change, and so much to think about and process, and that's why there are as many content creators as there are, because there's actually so many things to cover. We can't cover it all. It feels like there's been a ton of content lately. I try to watch most of it, and I can't anymore. It's getting to a place where I can't. How many play Hearthstone? Yeah, there you go. Jimbo's playing, or he's playing it right now. Oh, look, there's Geeked Out Basketball. Jamie, shout out to Jamie. Web3 gaming will turn a corner soon. Nike and Dot Swoosh just announced an integration into Madden today. Cool. That's how the category gets credibility. Yeah, there's a lot of credibility that will come out of major partnerships like that. My hope is that those partnerships will set roots in the right season, because if that's just a conversation that they're having now and they don't take action on that conversation, then there isn't roots that grow and that are prepared to endure and thrive into a bull market. What would be optimal is if those partnerships start founding their growth now in a real sense, in an actual move the needle sense. They start doing things now in preparation. Maybe it's coding, maybe it's whatever now, so that when the next bull market runs, their participants see the growth, and that's the sort of storyline that will reach a wide audience. But if it's something that struggles to launch now, and really then the bull market arrives, and only then do they start kind of moving and starting, and by the end of the bull market, their users are really adapting and adopting and loving it, and then they get roasted by the bull market, or by the bull market ending and the bear market beginning, and they lose 95% of their assets, that'll be a black eye on Web3. So I hope something like a Nike or whatever will move in, or something like a Call of Duty or a, major titles will move into the blockchain space or the Web3 gaming experience at the right moment. The right visionary behind driving the right dollars will make this happen, and the wrong could harm us, is what one of the things I'm worried about. Hearthstone got 5.6 million for the last 30 days. Wow. $1 million is reasonable, says Alex. Yeah. I mean, we had 400, 500,000 before, and I know those were bots too, but that's not nothing, man. It's not nothing. And we're at 50,000, so we got a long way. Wow. Okay. I'm going to try and rip through some comments here. I feel all the markets have been hit, reselling items taken a hit, Jordan's, Yeezys, GPU, and no one has extra income, so P2E will hit as well, just market cycles. Yeah, I wonder how close we are to the next positive turn, though. Smokelord, good to see you, bud. Cold. I just need to know how many people are like you and Dwayne when the game is at its low moments like this. We just need more diehards like you. Yeah, my hope is, and I said this, like, I almost need to like go find one of my old videos when it was the bull market and just clip some of that, because I know I said things whereas like soon at one point we're gonna be in a bear market and people are gonna be like disappearing and people are gonna say the game is dead, which is what they've always said about Bitcoin. And just personally, I've always had this confidence of where we are and what we are and where we're going. And so I don't care about that white noise. I'll just keep accumulating and doing my thing through that time and attention side, right? And you get those trivial rewards, but then you just know out of your own place of confidence, I know I've done my research. I know what I'm doing here. I know where this is going, and I'm willing to bet on it in the time when no one else bets on it, because that's where you get the multipliers. And I don't mean just financially. That might sound like, hey, you should go ham and just like ape in a big way financially within the Splinterlands or whatever else. No, I'm talking even just about like financially, from a time and attention perspective, like commit yourself in a way where you're extracting your dailies optimally, whether that's at bronze or silver or gold. Fine, just play your dailies. Make sure you're getting those daily loot chests, because those are going to be soul bounds that are going to be adding to your ability to win. And then eventually those are going to be transferable, which will carry value. Right now, when you look at your daily rewards, it's like you don't even see a value, a price point for those soul bounds. I looked up I did my end of season reward video, and Splex will give you the price point. Look at this. My daily reward, $3.56, 53 cents. And that's for SPS mostly, plus the potions, which they give a pretty high price point to, but nothing for these cards. And then on the end of season, this is my end of season. No. End of season, 74 chests, $46. One pack, $5 for the SPS, 2,000 merits, a ton of potions. They give me most of the value comes out of the potions, really. I like potions. You might not, so you can remove that from your calculations if you want. But look at this, no value assigned to any of these cards, none. And this is an epic. This is a rare. This is an epic. These cards are definitely going to have financial value. This Summoner Gladiators in rank battle is awesome. These cards are going to have value, high value. And I mean, this is going to be, I don't know how much, but it's not going to be nothing. And yet in this moment, it's valued at 0. So just accumulate those and recognize what you're accumulating, and just believe I don't even want you to believe if you don't. Like, that's not a sales pitch for you to believe. It's like, it's a sales pitch for those of you who already believe to just start taking that belief and acting on it. That's what I'm saying. Like, some of you just love this and believe in it and know where it's going, but maybe you're not even grinding. You're not getting your daily battles in. You're not, maybe you're not even entering any tournaments. If you have time, there's rewards that are just out there for the taking. And sometimes with tournaments, you enter for, 100 SPS and you can double that with almost, relative ease. So there's things we're leaving on the table. Splinter Forge is an easy way to earn some DEC you earn 4GM by playing the game. And once you get the 4GM, you can sell it into DEC if you want. And you might say, well, I don't love this gaming experience. Well, okay, I get that. But are you trying to invest your time and attention in order to maximize your financial opportunity in blockchain or not? Because if the answer is yes, I am trying to invest my time and attention to maximize my financial opportunity, recognize that Splinter Forge is one more element or picture in that wall, like brick in the wall, of growing what you're already doing here with the assets you already have, the Splinterlands assets that you already have that'll let you play in here. And it might feel relatively trivial, but every DEC that comes to your pocket from 4GM trades is a DEC you don't have to then buy with US dollar currency. And then that's a card you rent that you will benefit you in rank battle, guild battles, tournament battles, and again roll it over into Splinterlands or Splinterforge, and therefore even more DC maybe. And so again, it's just about, you know, how much do we believe, and those who do believe, are we really taking advantage? Because it's the bear market moments that are changing people's lives. This is from this is not my quote. I love it though. Walking Keys, NFT gaming and collectibles. He goes, millionaires are made in the bear market. They just don't know it yet. And if that doesn't just resonate with you, I don't know if you truly understand what's happening. So like, think about that. And again, in the broader conversation and context that I've already set, which is like, do you believe in Splinterlands? And from that place, well, what Walking Keys says, millionaires are made in the bear market. They just don't know it yet. It's not going to be the guy who shows up on day one of the bull market and throws 10 grand at this, or even 100 grand, that's going to change their life. It's the guy who's been playing through this whole bear market, accumulating resources and assets that are trivial. 10 SPS per battle right there I showed you. Some people think, oh, 20 cents, I don't care. I don't care. But is it 20 cents? Or is 10 SPS 10 US dollars? The answer to that question depends on when you ask. Is an SPS 2 cents or is an SPS $1? Is an SPS $5? The answer depends on when you ask. And so, yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for, I'm glad you enjoy kind of my attitude and my perspective there. And I think if you feel the same way, just position yourself well and wisely right now. Jim, you will enjoy owning nothing and be happy with the Hearthstone. That's funny. Owning nothing. I don't know about that. That's funny. He's referencing that like central government economy guy. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Alex Toro, I was looking into making a cool little game to play during streams, but the issue is multiplayer part of it. Cryptozard and Bex, if you're in P2A and play, has to need to play Gods Unchained instead. I've never touched Gods Unchained. Smoke Lord, Jim didn't buy a bunch of SPS. I think he bought some SPS, but then there was a family emergency that rose up. Jim's got a bigger bag of SPS than I do. I think he's over 200,000 or something. Solving Chaos. Building and Protecting Wealth. I like that name, by the way. Hi. Dog Pound. I think it's called Tabletop Simulator. Create online rooms for custom games. Oh, cool. Whoa, that's rad. Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to Google that one time. Not right now. Alex Tora, multiplayer is a super complex. I got to wrap my head around it more. That would be really cool if there was a multiplayer experience that we could, have fun with. I think, that would be rad. Cold, he did take the money out for like a financial, there was a family emergency. But he, I think from what I recall, he bought a bag of SPS in addition. So part of it went to SPS, I think. He's close to 200,000. Well, that's the beauty of Web3. You can cash out when you want. This is the thing, man. That's the thing. That's a value proposition. You're right there. You're making you're articulating one of the core benefits of why Splinterlands is worth someone's attention with that sentence, Smoke Lord. The beauty of Web3 is that you can cash it out when you want. That is a thesis or a hypothesis that speaks to why someone should even care about Splinterlands. And then there's all the conversation about, do you like the game and the game? What is the game involved? And do you believe in the future development? Okay, sure. But like at its core, Web3 is cool. Why? Why is it different than other games? Because you can cash it out when you want. I think the failure of SPS, or sorry, of Splinterlands will take time. Cold as you're suspicious about the future success of Splinterlands in a long time horizon is what I'm hearing. Because there are so many things that are being connected to it. The failure of Splinterlands will take time because there are so many things that are connected to it. Feels like you're almost talking about the success of Splinterlands, but you clearly said failure. I'm down pretty big, but still haven't thought about cashing out. I think long-term future will be bright. I'm salty a lot, but it's more about wanting new players to be focused, not prices. Yeah. So the cares will always have some sort of value. Good way to invest. Nico says, what's a good way to invest $200 to $300 in the game? You'd want to focus on like one splinter. Now is like an interesting time though. Cards are they've really fallen recently. Like cards have fallen a good, at least 20 to 30%, depending on what splinters or what iteration you're looking at. But yeah, some of the cards are cheap, and you could build 1 or 2 splinters for that price point and probably fight in that silver range, or maybe even like a low gold. I think that's true. I mean, I haven't looked at it very closely recently, but you'd want to look at assets like Splinter Coach and then ascertain which summoners are really crushing it. But like from my data, I'm seeing from the win perspective, Astral Entity, look at it, still crushing it. Now there's limited, it's fitting into a niche. So you maybe wouldn't want that one as your main because it doesn't play a lot of my battles, but when it plays, it wins. Contextually, Lily Shieldpaw is so good. For the number of times I get to play this thing, the win rate that it offers, Dragon is so powerful. For $200-300, I'm thinking something like a Lily Shieldpaw and a Thaddeus Brood as your 1-2, and then it'd be great if you could round that out with like a General Sloan just for the purpose of getting a cheap summoner, or who else is really cheap? Who else is really cheap? Maybe Kelia. Yeah, Kelia. I probably would go Kelia because she's good and she's cheap. So that's what I would do. I'd look at Kelia. I'd look at Lily Shieldpaw or Quixodevious, one or the other, but not both. And then Thaddeus. I'd look at those 3 summoners to try in the silver range, and I'd try and support them as best I could with the budget you had. And I think you can have some fun with that. And then I would, if that's all the money I had in the world to put into something like this, I'd do everything I could to really stretch that value. Meaning, I would want to participate in certain guild. I'd want to find a guild where I could get SPS out of the guild brawls with that deck. I'd want to make sure I was competing in certain tournaments where I could extract certain rewards with that deck. I'd play in Splinter Forge so I could get a few DC out of this Forgium that I'm earning through play. And out of that approach, you're going to be stretching and using the card assets you've acquired maximally. And then as you do that, you're going to start unlocking more and more value that you can pour into the game and grow and multiply what you're already doing. Smoke alert, if I had $300 and wasn't in a hurry, Chaos Legion packs are an amazing price point. They are. Chaos Legion, I opened 200 Chaos Legion packs yesterday, I think. Yeah, I did. But at the non-card market, and you go over to here to other items, Chaos Legion pack $130, I bet. $129. I mean, these packs are, I'm saying that's dirt cheap. I'm not saying it doesn't go lower, because for the next at least week to 2 weeks, we're going to see continued pressure out of the great burning, because people are vying for, we got to look at that screen in a second here, but I'm pretty convinced several things are happening. 1, people are preparing for land, means they need more DC. 2, people are burning DC to get into the burning. 3, people are selling everything not nailed down in order to access either DC for land or, maybe even SPS. I don't really know, but on the SPS. But then 4, SPS's price has been going down lately from 3 cents to 2 cents, and then that's driving a certain malaise about the card assets, and maybe people are more interested in selling. And then I think, what am I up to? I think I'm up to 5 bots are leaving because of all the changes that have happened recently, and the ones that are yet to come but are being executed and planned. So those factors plus more that I probably don't even really recognize are contributing to things like Chaos Legion packs dipping to new lows. Like, this is very, very low. I think this is the lowest I've ever seen it. And I definitely agree that they have a strong value proposition for the future. I'm, 10, 20 bucks, I think is probable. 10, 15 bucks, I think is very probable. But we're probably, we're probably 2 to 4 years away from that. So then, if you do that angle, you're thinking long-term investment. But if you don't already have a deck of cards, then you don't even have that way to earn regularly. Whereas if you put 200 or 300 bucks into a deck of cards to get started with the game, then you'll actually have this avenue to multiply what you're doing. This would be an investment speculation, and I think it would be a strong one. I do think he's making a good point that this price is good, and for long term, for the medium and the long term, I think this price is going to be ridiculously low. But in the short term, is it going to go up, down, left, right? I don't know. And in the short term, if you had a few card assets like a basic deck, you could begin to have some success and some entertainment within the game, and that would allow earnings of a variety of kind, including soulbound cards, which one day will be transferable. Okay, how we doing? We got 27 viewers, 22 likes. If you haven't dropped the like, do me a favor and drop me a like. I'm just gonna send through. Appreciate all you guys coming to hang out today. Give me a minute here. Okay, so I definitely agree. $1.30 is a good price, but then yeah, I would rather equip somebody with like a deck of cards, because that's the path, that's the money tree of this game. Like, and you might say it's a small money tree if you're only putting $200 in. I think that's true, but I'm saying, 200 packs of Chaos Legion is an interesting long-term investment, but $300 worth of cards is an ongoing return. That's what I would say. What I love is my account value has been level for the past few months. Good for you, Luke. I don't know how you're doing that. Mine's been up, down, left, right. Smokelord, even opening those packs and not waiting to flip them have a good chance to profit. That's true, but you would want the potions. And he might not have those. The gold foil, you would definitely want the potions. But let's see quickly. You can use splinter cards to ascertain whether or not there's a decent flip chance on those. You go over here to pack value. See, look at that pack value. Chaos Legion is roughly $1.37, and you can buy them for $1.29. So that's telling me that there is a decent probability that you're going to get your money back if you buy a Chaos Legion pack off of the non-card market right now and open it. There's a decent probability, not a guarantee, but a decent probability. And then you might get lucky and get something cool. Like yesterday, I got a gold foil Void Dragon, which is like a surprisingly inexpensive right now. Gold foil legendary Chaos Legion, very cheap. Check this out. Void Dragon, $28 high bid, $37 low buy. This is a great card, and it's an exceptional card. It's relatively low mana. It's got a high hit point. It's like an off-tank opportunity. It's very evasive. It partners with the new Astral Wraith in the sense of evasiveness, because it's got flight, but then it has dodge. It also has phase, so it can get around that too. Plus the speed is reasonable. It's a great card. And a gold foil, if you want gold foil, that's cheap, but not for the guy who's looking to buy $200 or $300 worth of assets. I'm just saying, I was surprised how inexpensive that was. Everything tastes better. Everything tastes better with a bit of salt. The only fear I have is the team not being honest with their funding and the lights go out one day. Ooh, you know what, Smoke Lord? That thought just honestly sent a shock of whoa, what if they did that? If we can get onto nodes running SPL, it'll be way less worried. Yeah, Yeah, I'll be way less worried. Yes. But seeing Matt drop so much DEC shows me they still are funded. Otherwise, he'd cash that out and use that to fund. You're right. You're right. No, I think they're cruising, because remember when we talked about like a year and a half, 2 years runway, which is what they talked about when they ran into those staffing problems. The Bitcoin was around 15 or 14,000, and with Bitcoin now at 27,000. Half of the assets within their sort of escrow for game operations was stored in Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think half of it, if I recall correctly, it may have been 30%, a large proportion. But then since they announced those layoffs, first of all, the layoffs alone, with no market conditions and no market improvement, was allowing a year and a half, 2 years, I think they said, worth of quote unquote runway. But now in the context of Bitcoin having moved from 15,000 to 27 or 28, that stretches even more that runway. And then there's been new income, I think, too, right? Even though we've only sold 4,500 Zyriels, that's not nothing. We sold RUS, and I think the RUS money was theirs to keep. I forget now. But yeah, to finish the point there, I guess there's a degree of, financial failure is not a zero probability. Let's be like perfectly honest here. It is not a certainty that Splinterlands will be here in 5 years. It is not. If it was a certainty that this game would be here in 5 years, that would mean this game was so established that there would almost certainly be no financial opportunity left. The risk associated with this game possibly being here, possibly failing, the risk associated with that is tied there. It's literally the same thing as the opportunity associated with this game, the financial opportunity. And anybody who understands what risk really is, they have to see that. When you buy a stock, when you buy a Tesla stock, you're paying a high premium on that stock. Why? Because Tesla is so perceived in this high place, in the status and the success rate of Musk and what they've already done and accomplished, and their name is so well known that they end up being more secure, at least perceptually, to a place where the people will fight and pay a premium to acquire and access that stock. But then in a game like Splinterlands, where every card and NFT and cryptocurrency token within the context of Splinterlands is a stock, think about it that way. You're buying a share. Well, it's not exactly the same. The metaphor falls apart a little, but you're buying a portfolio of assets within Splinterlands that are your portfolio. And these are more risky. But risk isn't a bad word. Don't think about it when I know some people out there are going to hear me say that and be like, don't say the game's risky. No, guys, it's like, recognize what risk is. We've been, in the Western world that most of us live in, we're brought up to perceive risk as negative. We're brought up to perceive pain and suffering and difficulty as, avoid it. But understand that hard work and challenge and risk are actually beautiful things. And out of that chaos, because there's chaos in those things, there's really significant opportunity. And in this context, I mean financial opportunity, but like that line of thinking applies to, I think, life. If you walk into difficulty, you can create something beautiful. And if you walk into challenge or risk, you can create wild opportunity. I think that's just true, but it applies specifically to Splinterlands too. So one day Splinterlands, just like Bitcoin, will get to a place where Bitcoin's not here yet, but it'll get to a place where it's so accepted that the appreciation will be relatively minimal at that point, because it'll be like gold. Gold goes up and down and has some significant sway. Actually, it moves significantly still. But the point is, it doesn't go from $2,000 an ounce to, $100 an ounce. It goes from 2,000 to 18, and that is a degree of stability that will eventually come to things that show themselves like to have substantial longevity and resiliency. Alex says you can definitely make short-term money in SPL. You got to be okay with turning the short-term move to a long-term move if it goes bad. This is it. And not everybody wants to do that. So you need to be honest about your own motivations on day one before you invest in something like that, because you need to know if push comes to shove and if I lose half my value, I'm going to freak out and I'm going to sell out. Okay, I would tell that person don't do it. Don't make move one to get involved, because it's like there's opportunity here and I love it. But you need to come into a place of confidence before you, at least I would. My investment strategy is understand what I'm investing into and walk in a massive degree of confidence for that thing. But like not just wishfully thinking about it, but like truly thinking through strategically and fundamentally the likelihood and probability of success. And then once I come to a place of confidence from that analysis, then to, okay, I get it. I like it. Here we go. Chips in. Let's go. It's hard to argue with 1.25 to 135 packs. One gold foil legendary summoner pays for the ton. Yeah, it would. Ivan, good to see you, buddy. I'm on this train still buying for at least another 18 months before I reconsider anything. I think the value of soulbound cards is overlooked big time. Retroactive gains. This is it. Ivan, you get it, buddy. Yeah, they're giving them away, man. Literally giving them away. And some of them are exceptional. And they will be transferable, and therefore they will carry value. So they're right now, they literally cost nothing. You just play the game and earn them. And one day they will have a price tag associated with them. And they're exceptional cards if you compare them to some of the other cards that are comparable. And you can get a sense that, you know, you're talking like $10 per legendary, 5 per epic, you know, 2 per rare, or $1 for rare. You know, in some cases, maybe more, but like just even throw those bulk numbers at it and recognize that, you know, at end of season loot chests are giving you probably, you know, $50 more value than you truly recognize, which if you believe that should change your perspective and on the importance of making sure you get your battles in. I have a half an hour, guys, and I have to go. Got to go get the kids at 2. Once again, thanks for coming to hang out today, guys, and thank you for some of you came here early. I got here, I was supposed to be here at noon Pacific Standard Time, and I was about 15 minutes late because of work stuff. So thanks for your patience. Richard, I played the game for 2 years, but just for fun. So I buy cards to play the game. So I'm not selling any cards and I'm still buying, but just wanted your views. Nice. I agree on soulbound cards. My end of season has been horrid lately in Champ 1, but my soulbound cards keep me coming back. Yeah, I'm with you, Smoke. My last one was pretty brutal. Like my end of season, let's show one more time. Let's have a peek at it. This is my end of season. Like, look at this. It says $46 worth of value. Again, that's $17 worth of legendary potions and $23 worth of gold foil potions. So if you subtract that value, you're talking $6 worth of rewards. I did get one Chaos Legion pack, and I got $5 worth of SPS. I love that, because again, I don't look at 220 SPS, which is what I have here, as $5. I look at it as 220 US dollars, because I'm convinced that one day we'll see $1 SPS. In fact, I'm convinced we'll see more. Don't take that and go ape. Just take that and say, okay, challenge me. Why does Dwayne think that? Do I agree? Do I agree? And challenge your own and wrestle with that. Because if you think that's so, man, that should change your outlook on every rank battle you play. But if I'm wrong, that should probably, I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. So anyways, yeah, I mean, $5 worth of value, $6 worth of value. But then cards like, look at this, epic, 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 no legendaries at all. 7 gold foil rares, which I'm sure will be worth something. Probably, you know, again, this is a strong card. So 4 mana. Let's look at some, just on this one card, Madcap Magus. Let's look at some comparables and just have a conversation about what this one comparable could be worth. We're looking at gold foils. We want to focus in on a rare. We probably want to look at reward cards because that's... How was there only one? Oh, I see. So these are the cards that are reward status. They're gold foil and they're rare. And these cards are still relatively new. But you're talking $1.30, $1.30. What if these prices, these are the cheapest rares that you can find that are gold foil? I mean, what if these are the prices? $8, $10, $12. Maybe. It's a good card. But just for a second, just for argument's sake, what if we assume Naga Assassin or Venari Wavesmith with the $1.30 price point is like a reasonable application onto the Madcap Magus, which is a great card of 4 mana and has a good amount of damage output and works well with the green team because it has a slow attack speed, and there's a whole reverse rule set team I like with that green team, the Earth team. And it's got the Life Leech with the Scatter Shot, which is good because Taunt is quite kind of meta right now. And so it's good and it works and it's powerful. And so I think, you know, I could argue that this is going to be better than the cheapest of the cheap rares. But even at $1.30 a unit, right there, you're talking something like $9 or $10 for those 7 for just that one card. And I think, you know, these epics are going to be more. And I think there's another gold foil rare. And then these summoners, I mean, it's powerful. I think you probably have to assign like a $2-ish range for this summoner. And I think that's me being really conservative. That's another $20 and so on. But like hundreds of dollars are being handed out every day and every season to every account, dozens or hundreds of dollars to every day, and to every account, just for play. And we aren't recognizing it because there's no price tag directly associated with it as yet. Smoke almost has 2 gold foil cards maxed out. That's cool. Coldaz says, I think they've nerfed the reward cards. I think they did too. It feels like I haven't been getting the same. Smoke agrees. I think they mentioned they had also because they were dropping like crazy when they first came out. I think they have. Eli goes, I love the way your mind works, Dwayne. Thanks for tackling all these different aspects with such open-mindedness, and you do it with compassion and solid reasoning. Thanks, man. I certainly try to. I know that, you know, I don't have all the answers, but I love this conversation. I love this game. And I love our community, so being part of it with you guys is so cool. And this is the Jordan Peterson idea, but he goes, whenever you talk to somebody, what if you strived, instead of like hoping to convince them from the onset of a conversation, what if you strive to find something that they might communicate to you, some value that you might receive from them? If every person you spoke to, you came at it from that perspective of, they might have something that I need to know. That is a different place, different starting place than I have all the answers and I'm going to download all the answers, you know? And so, yeah, hopefully that's where my heart's at least most of the time. It's where I'm striving to be. It's the posture I'm striving to walk in. I think they nerfed the SPS drops too. I have not seen any massive SPS drops, so I wouldn't be surprised, but I have no proof of this. Smoke says I could be unlucky. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. The only argument I've had that Blaze is needs Flywheel to work. Why I always harp on the new player growth. How are we doing? Am I close to the bottom? No, I'm nowhere near. Okay. Yeah, but this is not a new player friendly game or industry. This is an interesting point. Alex Toro says, yeah, I think talking in the context of like what this game could be and where it could go. Yeah, but this is not a new player friendly game or industry. And I think there is a lot of truth in this, unfortunately. I'm confident about what Splinterlands is and where it's going. But to be entirely fair, one of the barriers in front of Splinterlands is definitely its ability to appeal to a non-blockchain sophisticate. Like if you don't understand blockchain, you don't understand private versus public keys, if you don't understand how to put money into Hive or to SPS or DEC, and if you don't trust these things because you've heard about horror stories about NFTs or rug pulls, etc., there's a barrier in front of you that's going to prevent you from stepping into a game like this in a major way. And then you probably are that voice that's only stepping into Splinterlands when things go green, which is then a bad thing, because the opportunity for a game like this is to step in during a bear market and accumulate resources with a long time horizon in mind. But they're not really those voices, those ones who don't truly know this, that are being held back by the barriers of blockchain, are the ones who will only figure things out when the candles spark enough FOMO. And so I see your point, and I worry about that too. One of the things that I've talked about that I'd like to see them alleviate would be, an easier access point into SPS, and what that might look like. And we've already heard, I think it's Splex. Splex has set up SPS rental markets. I haven't looked at it yet, but I heard this from one, it might have been Aftersound or somebody. I heard somebody talking about how Splex is setting up SPS rental markets, or one of the providers is. My point is, SPS rental markets are going to come, and as they get here, it's going to be another way where the financial element or barrier for this game, because one of the barriers is blockchain, SPS is part of that barrier. Once it's easy to get it through, spending $1 through PayPal to get the SPS you need to, to play the game, that's going to make it so much easier. And so that's one of the things that I see as being related to your point, where I see it's true. There are barriers to new players, both from the perspective of understanding the industry, but also understanding the game, because there's a lot of complexity in Splinterlands. All the different rule sets and mana caps, the different league levels. And even when I started playing the game, I didn't know that you had to burn multiple copies of a card in order to merge it into a larger unit. I thought, as I play with this level 1 BCX, it'll get better and better and better and better. Like I thought you train it by winning, but no. You're right. We get a major exchange and it'll be easier for new players. It's tedious at the moment and getting in unless you go straight credits and PayPal. Yeah, no, 100% you guys are right. These are barriers that I think are being thought through and tackled in roundabout ways already. And there'll be an increasing degree of ease in the coming weeks and months. Like I said, SPS renting will be part of that easier process. Plus, I think making the Splinterlands app be more functional will be part of that story too, of making new player experience more palatable and straightforward. Cold Ass says, sometimes I think the Flywheel is just a dream because we're getting DEC from somewhere still. This is great. I'm glad I've never heard anyone really articulate this concern. So let's take a minute and get into this, because I think I have an answer to you. So, and part of me agrees with one aspect. It's this: when you say it feels like a dream, I'd say it does feel like a dream, because it feels like it's not yet, and it's something we've been talking about, and everyone points to it as if like this is a thing we're walking toward and we're going to get there imminently, and when we get there everything will change. That's the tone, and it feels very hopeful or optimistic, but how founded in reality is it? And I think we can test that. We can ask the questions: where does the DEC come from right now? How much of it is being printed? How much exists? How much is being burnt through regular use? And based on all that data, when will we be out of DEC if we are going to reach zero? Because when we do, if we are going to eventually reach zero, that would mean the Flywheel will begin. So that's data. That's a database question you can actually explore. And I don't have all the numbers for you, but I have some of them, and these are quite rough. But I'll tell you roughly what I know. Something like 5 billion SPS exists. 5 billion DEC exist that is available in people's hands. It's less than that, but it's around that. And then something like 1 billion exist in different exchanges that are used for liquidity pools. So we're in the neighborhood of 6 billion. And then there's DCB, which I don't know how many there are. Maybe there's close to 1 billion of that too. I don't know. I don't exactly know. These are very rough numbers, but I'm saying this data is findable. And then once you know that, you can ask, okay, that's how many we have. How many are we making? Well, it's something like 15 million or something per season out of the leaderboard. I don't know, again, the very rough numbers, but you can see leaderboards have a certain reward potential, and it's something like 15 or 20 million per season. So then you can multiply that out across 26 seasons a year, roughly, and you can begin to understand how much we make. And you know, we start by knowing how many we have, and then how much can we make every season and annually, and then how many do we burn every month or whatever. And you can look at things like that too. How much of it is going into, how many people, like how much is being burnt into energy? Because you can spend it on energy. How many is being burnt in the event, the Great Burning? You know, and stuff like this can be, you can start to find answers to this. And so then it's clear to me based on the data I've seen, and you might want to check out Aftersound's comments on this because he's done some pretty detailed deep dives on how much DEC exists and where it's located and whatnot, but also how much is being created through leaderboards. And then you get into a conversation of like, how reasonable is it to believe that we might actually get through it all? Plus, bring into that conversation land. And we're told that you can put like roughly 50,000 DEC, I think, into a plot of land, and there's 150,000 plots of land. And so and I don't think all of the lands are going to be used, but if you just went like that, 50,000 DEC per plot times 150,000 plots, you get 100,000, 7.5 billion. That would be all of the DEC in existence. I don't think that's going to happen because not all the plots of land will be activated, and of the plots of land that get activated, not all will be optimized. So I bet you divide this in a fourth, but that's still, I bet when land launches, we end up putting 2 billion DC into land, locking it up. That's one path to really rapid deletion, or not deletion, but it still exists, but it's in this staking process, and therefore it won't easily be removed and put back into the market. And then you get events like this that are ripping through in 2 days, almost 500 million DC. Yes, much of it has been DCB, but still, that is DC that won't be burnt later on energy or whatever. And so think through that stuff for yourself, and you can find those numbers, and you can actually begin to chart a trajectory toward when you think we will reach. We don't need DC to be zeroed. That's one more thing I'll say to you. In order for DC to reach peg, what we need for DC to reach peg is much of DC to be removed. Much of it, not all of it. I don't know how much. But if we have, let's say, something like 3 billion on the marketplace available for spending, using for energy, for guild upgrades, for card purchases, etc. If we have 2 or 3 trillion or billion left over after all said and done with land and leaderboards, etc. I mean, land and burning events, etc. We're in such a different place because those 2 billion or 3 billion are not necessarily in loose hands. So when I get DEC, I spend it. But there are people, and you can look at leaderboards within Peak Monsters and see who's holding amount of DEC and dashboard top holders. And DECB rich list, and then DEC rich list. And some of these are like liquidity pools, and some of them are like cold storage, and then some of them are people. Holozor. And so certain hands, like, we don't need 0 in circulation for the price to appreciate. What we need is most of the loose DC, the DC that's not long-term hold, to be spent. And then As we reduce the supply toward that level, we start to get closer to peg, and that is in my opinion believable, conceivable, and I think going to happen. Yeah, and if it does, I think we actually do see a flywheel. But I get you. It's like, you know, I'll believe it when I see it too. We got about 12 more minutes, guys. Maybe when they stop printing SPS, yeah, that'll be part of it. But I think it'll be sooner than that. They just print more. They might print more, but we'll decide that. We will decide that. That's up to us, Alex. As SPS holders, we will decide through SPS governance and DAO voting whether or not more SPS is created in order to incentivize either rank play or tournaments, or we will decide that through our vote. And so we have an opportunity even now to position ourselves in 5 years where we have an SPS bag that's meaningful and that commands a certain degree of attention so that we can you know, have a meaningful impact on that conversation. YT, I just want another crash. Bull can wait until after the next BTC happening. Yeah, you're just hoping to pack the bags? I hear ya. Jim, I haven't got D4 yet, but I did see I logged into D2 yesterday, and I also played a little Overwatch without you. I got to get on there. Yeah, one of either SPS or DC need to stop printing. Well, DC is almost entirely stopped printing. DC is almost entirely stopped printing. Right now, I think we're printing, like I said, the only DC that's coming into existence is out of the leaderboard. And we're talking 15 million. Talking 15 million DC per season times 2 seasons a month, 24. So we're talking annually 360 million DC. Okay. It's not nothing. But during this great burning, we've eaten that up and more in 2 days. Plus, I told you already, the land could eat up all of the DC. Again, how much of land is actually going to be activated? I don't really know. But if it was fully activated, land would eat up all of the DC. If it's only partially activated, it'll eat up probably half of the DC. So I hear you though. We do probably need to stop. It would probably make sense. But then what would you reward leaderboards with in Splinterlands? Because you're not going to do SPS because SPS is written in such a way that it's not intended to be on the leaderboard. So you'd have to create new SPS through inflation in order to allocate some to the leaderboards. Or you could pay them in credits. Maybe, but even that, credits are in some sense a financial cost on the team because you'd be awarding value to players that they would then spend on cards, which is then credits are paid by the team. It's money that essentially money that the team is spending. Like when they give you credits, it's because you've given them PayPal purchases. So if they were to start handing out credits, it'd be like the team is, I guess, buying free cards for players or something. They could give out Chaos Legion packs. I don't know. I feel like there isn't an easy answer to that yet. And I think we're always going to see some amount of DC being created through leaderboards, probably. But remember, once we get the shelves empty or relatively empty of DC, it doesn't need to be empty, relatively empty. We can expect to, it's again, with all economics conversations, it's always a question of the supply versus demand. And so you can do, in order to improve your appreciation, you can do 2 things. You can drive up demand through, I don't know, advertising, new recruiting, etc., or you can decrease supply. And either of those inputs in the conversation, in the equation, will increase the price appreciation associated in this case with DC. Because if there's fewer DC, the same amount of buyers will drive up DC price. If there's more buyers, the same amount of DC, the fixed DC will go up in price because there's more competition. So either way, competition increases, prices increase, either by decreasing supply or increasing demand. And so we don't need zero DEC on the shelves. We just need fewer, or we need greater demand. If you rent, tournaments are a must. You can recoup 50 to 80% of your rental costs. That's amazing. Smoke Lord goes D4 tonight. Let's go. Whirlwind Barb for the win. Dude, Whirlwind Barb is one of my plays. I actually like Frenzy also. Frenzy. And the ones that the shout barbs. The barbs that you can get like crazy defense and insane hit points. I forget what the different shouts are called, but there's even one of the shouts that will just kill enemies, and which is awesome. You just run into a horde of enemies and just start shouting, and they just start dropping around you. Bone Spear Necro is amazing too. Yeah, absolutely, Bone Spear. Hi Horace, good to see you, dude. I keep grinding every single day. Manual play, never been used a bot. Haven't missed a day in over a year. That's it, man. I have a gold and silver account. I play 2 guilds. I have 47,000 SPS. I have a land all in. Dude, hi Horace. It's gonna be fun, man, watching that next bull market and hearing some of the stories from people like Horace, Smoke Lord, who said earlier his account value's gone down. Cold As, who's questioning the flywheel. It's gonna be really fun during the next bull market to check in with some of these voices who have been here this whole time, who've been patient and persevering even in the depths of a bear market when bull markets come, because bull markets come, man. It in the depth of a bear, it feels like I don't know. You start second guessing. You start feeling like maybe I'm wrong. It's not going to ever do that again. I just think it is. I think it is, and I think I've given even good reasons why one could believe a bull market will return to Splinterlands. Oh, it's going to be so exciting to just watch the chat just blow up, and instead of 20 or 30 people, we have 300-400 people, because people are going crazy to learn about Splinterlands, because that's what happens in bull markets. It's like the channel goes from 50 viewers to 5,000 in like, I think it was a few weeks, and the chats go from 20 or 30 to 200 or 300, because people are like, what's going on with this Splinterlands thing? As you guys start realizing benefit and gain, it actually starts becoming real in your world, in your life. And then you turn to Twitter and you turn to Discord and you start sharing, and it's like you're talking to your friend about how your account went from 5,000 to 50,000, and it's like, what? And suddenly there's this influx. That bull market cycles drive eyeballs. And eyeballs are investors, and investors are, we don't want them to come then. Like, if you know somebody, you love them, and you actually see something in Splinterlands, you probably want them to come now, as I do. But they mostly don't. Like somebody said earlier, like most people won't come until it's too late. Why? Because they chase green candle. They aren't gonna put $1 in something like this until they see massive appreciation over the last 3-4 months. And then out of a place of mistaken confidence, they will say, oh, look, it's going up. I can buy in now and it'll go up even more, because things always go up once they start going up, right? No, things go up in fits and spurts. Just like, you guys know that, but like so many voices don't. And so they'll come chasing the green candles, and unfortunately they'll get burned in the bear that will follow, because there will be a bear to follow. And hopefully you and I and everyone paying attention will enjoy some of the benefit by taking some of the value off the table when that happens, when that bull happens. And we'll speak wisdom into our friends, and we'll say, guys, like, I've been here before. It goes back down. And I've had friends who will be like, no, you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know. And then they have to learn sometimes the hard way. But we hopefully can be a voice of wisdom and discernment and like patience, and to the people who do rush in late, because bull markets are filled with people who rush in late, who chase green candles. We are the guys who are here patiently accumulating for our time and attention during a bear, and it's trivial rewards that are going to multiply in meaningful ways. And that's why I sincerely believe it's going to be so fun to watch this chat go different and be different in, I don't know, is it 6 months away? Is it a year away? I don't know. I feel like it's close. I've been watching, for instance, XRP like popped over 52 cents the other day. So I'm just getting bullish. I don't know where we're at, you know? I don't truly know where we're at. And every time in the past where I felt I knew for certain it's now, I've always been wrong. So now I just kind of like, it is what it is. I'll be here when it happens. I don't need to know when. I just need to know I'm here for the long haul. And that's been the approach and that's the plan. And I hope that's valuable to you guys too. Guys, you guys are amazing. So much conversation today. I wish I could have gotten into more of it and all of it. Isaac, I see you, buddy. I'm going to stop by and say hi. Hope you're doing. Isaac, good to see you. We should definitely have a chat. I know that you've sent me messages. I've been slammed too. We'll sort it out. Blaze, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Appreciate you. Don't forget to your brawl. I will. My brawls are not yet in. I'm going to do them after I go offline here, guys. And thank you all for your time and attention. I hope you have an amazing day. God bless. Check out Splinter Coach for 7-day free trial.